Hey team, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, awesome guys. We are live. Please do nudge your teams. This is definitely not one to fall asleep on and not to sleep through because we're going to be talking about sleep. So I need you to be alert to really learn about sleep. Definitely not one to miss, and definitely one of the most important things when it comes to well being and productivity. We think we're healthy until we look at sleep. And a beautiful quote by Sean Stevenson, who is a health coach in the space and is somebody who runs what's called the Model Health podcast. He says our sleep quality is more important than our nutrition and exercise combined. And like we said right at the start, and even in webinar 5, where we look at debunking certain myths, most people, when you ask what they're doing about their health, tend to talk to you about their nutrition and about their exercise. And we're saying those two combined won't make as much of a difference as sleep. Or if we deprioritize sleep, those two won't be as effective as they can be. So we're going to really look at that today. But before we do, of course, I want somebody to powerfully read out this objective and then share what are you experiencing, what of this objective have you fulfilled upon, what about this has transformed. So who would like to read this out?
I can read it out. Yeah.
Go for it, Nimisha.
Okay. The FitBanker Challenge 90-day reboot objective at the end of this challenge. One, I have reset my relationship with food, exercise, and myself, and built powerful new habits that contribute to my peak health. Two, I understand the role of my body, mind, and intellect and how they work together for peak health. I also recognize that my environment, community, and conversations shape my habits and create consistency. And I share and embody my lifestyle openly, inspiring and empowering others to begin their journey, becoming the go-to health leader in my communities.
Awesome, Nimisha. What of these objectives, 8 webinars in and 10 weeks into the program, are you experiencing, has transformed? Are you realizing, or are you seeing that you're having an effect on others?
Sure. I'd say that primarily number one, my relationship
Mm-hmm.
to food, exercise, and myself.
Yeah.
This was discussed recently in my coaching call and a bit of repetitiveness, but ultimately, I have no doubt changed my relationship to food because my dietary commitment now is FitBanker friendly foods. Um, Throughout this journey, as well as my sort of Thriving Five previously, I believe that has been a pure focus on the nutrition. Of course, I have my off days where, you know, where there's been events or festivities. But I'm more mindful even on those events and, made better selections in terms of nutrition. So that is definitely, sits as number one for me in terms of those changes. Consistent with my logging on MF, the Fitness Pal,
Yeah.
which again just keeps me in control, keeps me in check, and
Yeah.
um, essentially, and Mukesh pointed out previously and many other times that in his opinion, 90% of what we are doing on this journey is sort of nutrition related. Um, and of course, there's the exercise, the sleep that you've just said, Ronnie. But um, that's been a fallback for me in the past with regards
Yeah.
to the food. So I think, yeah, this time I've got a lot more control, and I can resonate with that with in terms of the nutrition.
Yeah.
I find myself looking at fit banker friendly recipes, whereas previously it would be how can I make cakes and scones and biscuits and all sorts of things. Whereas now it's, can I make those things, but can I adjust and make it fit banker friendly and adapt with my new habits,
Yeah.
which obviously leads me on to sort of number three. Uh, you know, my habits have changed over
Yeah,
this period of time.
which
Yes,
is awesome.
I've still got work to do, but you know, I would say at least 80-90% my habits have changed. So I think that's progress. And
Awesome.
I'm just taking it step by step. So yeah.
Awesome. So just a question for you. I'm curious, number four, because you're somebody that really shows up. I do want to acknowledge you for that. I think every coach will agree. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Nisha, you must be currently still at 100% attendance, if I'm not mistaken. You tell me if you missed one. But I'm curious if you're uh, doing number four, which is sharing and embodying your lifestyle. So whether on social media or in person, are you sharing you living the benefits, or you making better choices, or maybe posting your smoothie or your walk? Are you sharing that?
Yeah. So probably not so much on the group itself, but externally, I share quite a bit. I'm
Yeah.
often talking about my new habits. The FITBANKER program, I discuss it with my family often,
Yeah.
trying to incorporate changes within them because you know, they eat what they eat. And so I'm always discussing and inflicting this, on them. So yeah, and then again, other family members fight wider family members and
Hmm.
friends. So I do talk about it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I really want to share this and stress this point, guys, because everything in this objective, if you focus on it and fulfill on what we're asking you to discover about this, and implement any assignment that's connected to any one of the four objectives. If you do it by design and go to town with it, the deeper you go on any of the actions that fulfill on the objective, the more likely you're going to get longer, better, deeper, more sustaining results. I say this because nothing in here has been created that's non experiential, right? And by that I say is when I was sharing my transformation before the word FitBanker was even coined, and I was going through my journey, I was posting on social media, and I would get about. Initially, the day of posting my first photo, I was very intimidated. What will my colleagues think? What will my in-laws say about it? Seeing with a topless picture with me on social media, and all this other stuff were inhibitors. The moment I posted it, guess what I realized? A lot of people that thought I was overweight, chubby, or needed to do something about my lifestyle, being politically correct and shy and not wanting to offend me, didn't say a thing to me. But when I posted something about, hey, I'm working on this, I kind of gave them permission to contribute to me and kind of tell me what they've been withholding from saying to me straight. Right now, we also have to be open to contribution. We also have to understand a little bit about human nature, how we end up also being a certain way with lifestyle choices and political correctness and sensitivities about body image that sometimes keeping us where we are. That's the status quo. So if you want to shift that, we've got to understand that we've got to be okay with a little bit of sometimes uncomfortable statements may come our way. Now, what happened over time is I gave permission for people to tell me, and still inside of society's mode of looking good and being courteous and courageous, they would actually do more so in an empowering way. So I got about 80% encouragement, maybe 10-20% naysayers or taunters or having a joke or mock about something. And I remember, a lot of people saying, that's amazing, great to see what you're doing, very inspiring, following your journey. And this was ongoing every day for 90 plus days. There would be one or two comments which would always get me slightly questioning, self-doubting, rile me up, or maybe I didn't have the science or research, but I'd have often what they're struggling with, they will say that to you like it's the truth. So this is what we looked at in webinar 5. So somebody would say to me, hey, sorry to bust your bubble, but what you've just posted today, that 1 kg weight loss, that's just water weight. And I remember when it became 5 kg and 8 kg and 10 kg and 16 kg. In my mind, I was like using that statement as a positive affirmation, which is like, yeah, right, tell me now that 16 liters of sweat lost, of water weight lost, right? Which we can really use the comments our way, whether positive or negative, we can use them to serve us in a positive manner, right? So there is real power in sharing. We shared this image in webinar 2, you may not remember, sharing with self, sharing with your team, sharing with your challenge, and sharing publicly. We widen the accountability net. It's a free subconscious net that we create. So nothing that we're putting here is not tried and tested in human psychology of habit forming and performance. So if you want to get results, widen the net. If any of you have a kid right now that's got into their university of choice or a university that's globally recognized, guess what? You're going to tell people, hey, they got into Warwick, they got into Oxford, they got into Cambridge. You will say that, share that over the 3-4 years that they're there, or whatever they wanted to do that you're proud that they're doing. You will share that with pride. And the more you share that, the more they share that, the more they will perform and continue on that journey, because they're like, hey, this is kind of liked and endorsed by the world around me. Same with habit forming and a new lifestyle that we choose. So everything here, guys, we have 3 weeks remaining for us to really look at how do we shift gear, and is there any assignment we've put out there that you've not done. So look at it. Like I said earlier, optimal health, most people think it's those two. And what we're saying this particular webinar is sleep alone can be more impactful than the first two, physical activity and nutrition. Now, why sleep and why do we sleep? Well, guess what? Sleep is just part of a natural cycle, a natural rhythm, right? In the daytime, when we get exposed to the light, we release happy, healthy hormones called endorphin, serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine. And as the day goes down, those hormones naturally start to decline, and this seesaw hormone starts to build up later in the day as the natural light dims and it gets darker, which is melatonin. Now, melatonin and the awakening happy healthy hormones, they're like seesaw hormones. But this is the cycle chemically that our part of our brain, a gland in our brain called the pineal gland, which we looked at in the last webinar, the pineal gland is responsible for releasing and secreting these hormones. And that pineal gland goes through its cycle. As natural creatures in a natural world, if we live naturally, it's going to happen naturally in a natural quantity and natural process. But many of our lives right now are unnatural. So we're really looking at understanding how important this is, and if we know how important this is, what adaptations do we need to make to our current lifestyle to get as close as possible, as powerfully as possible to our optimal peak health. Now, anything that has ever, any living organism that has ever been studied sleeps, whether it's bacteria, whether it's an animal, whether it's even a plant, whether it's human beings. All living organisms that have ever been studied for the thousands of years have inside of them some element and form of sleep. And all creatures are effectively doing, a couple things to survive. One is they procreate and they are identifying means of surviving. Sleep has also been one of the things where people in their sleep has been the cause of certain species death, where they get preyed on, hunted, etc. But actually, it's something that we have always done. And right through evolution, every creature has gone through and has this period of sleep. And it's essential for our growth. It's essential for healthy procreation and survival. It's essential for saving our species. Let's take a look at some of the benefits of sleep that we will experience once we really work on this. And I don't know about each of you. I don't know how many of you right now you sleep because maybe your current lifestyle just gets you so fatigued. Or maybe you're somebody that has actually gone through dealing with struggles with sleep, and you've now got some guidance and coaching or medical help around sleep. Some people might have a problem around sleep, but they think it's just a problem they're dealing with that they can't transform. But I want you all to consider that we should, sleep is not a thing. To me, the way sleep occurred, it was the thing I did after I did everything. So if I finished everything I need to do in the day, then what's left over is for me to knock out and sleep. So it was the thing that I went to bed with complete residual minimal energy. Now, while you're sleeping, you need energy. We need energy for certain processes in our sleep. I thought I go to sleep when I'm out of energy, so I'll deplete my energy and go to sleep. Now, getting good sleep, what are the benefits? When I sleep, I get to boost my immunity, right? So part of the repair work and maintaining certain levels of minerals that contribute to my immunity, like zinc, like magnesium, like certain vitamins. They contribute to boosting my immunity and my repair work. If my repair work doesn't happen in my sleep, my immunity starts to get compromised. Getting quality sleep, and one of the benefits of sleep is it prevents weight gain. One of the obvious reasons is we're less likely to be opening our fridge while we're sleeping, but it prevents weight gain because, actually in our sleep we are burning calories. We're burning calories for some of the sleep and or digestive processes and or repair processes that are happening in our sleep, which utilize calories, and they start to actually burn fat if we have gone to sleep with the proper pre-sleep nutrition or work that conditions our body to ready ourselves for sleep. Sleep is so essential for heart health. Your heart is a muscle, and your heart pumps a certain number of times, and it has to go into a resting pump state. So we have what's called a resting heart rate. And many of us that compromise on sleep, we don't lower our resting heart rate in our sleep. Some of us are going to sleep and struggling with sleep because we're not giving our heart enough rest. And so it actually is something that could lead to a stroke. Good sleep will elevate mood. We will talk about that and how we shared earlier in the opening slide that when melatonin is released appropriately at the start of the night to get us to go to sleep, as it starts to subside in quantity and presence in our system, we start to increase the production of serotonin, endorphin, and dopamine, which are mood enhancers. If we get good sleep, we're likely to wake up a lot more happier, a lot more present, and likely to be a lot more productive the next day, which can boost performance in whatever task you're doing. And also sleep is the part of our day. You might think you're going to school to learn something. You might memorize something, and you might go through a daily experience where an event happened, and in the moment you formed an interpretation. Now, that processing of that interpretation from the event and the interpretation, that meaning gets consolidated in our neuronal pathways in our sleep. That aspect of forming memory happens in sleep. So if you shortchange your sleep, you shortchange building up your memory store. And especially for kids, right? When you see that kids sleep, you might see your kids struggling in school, and you might think, I need to give them extra tuitions or wake them up earlier to do more studies. Actually, the thing that might help is monitoring how much they're sleeping or not sleeping. And I say this mainly for, under teens, so sort of 12 and under. You'll begin to see higher correlation with their presence, awareness, alertness in school if they get better sleep. Now, this hormone we're talking about, melatonin, is a sleep hormone. I want to call it a magic hormone. It's also the hormone that contributes to both weight loss and muscle building or muscle repair. It's a natural hormone, mainly produced by our pineal gland, which is the gland at the bottom of our hypothalamus, at the bottom of our brain. It releases the highest levels of melatonin when there's darkness, and it decreases melatonin production when you're exposed to light. Now, let me tell you one pitfall of how we're sabotaging our sleep, and it's happening to most of us now, depending on the time zone that you're in. Closer to 10 p.m. or from 6 p.m. onwards, depending again time zone you're in and daylight hours that you have there, 6:30, 7 p.m. melatonin is slowly increasing. There's peak melatonin production from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is peak melatonin production. Now, closer to 10 p.m., if I'm watching TV at 9 p.m., 9:30, 9:45, 10 p.m. itself, I'm on my phone and I've not put my kind of darkness mode on, it is going to hijack and stop melatonin production. So your pineal gland is trying to release this hormone. It's releasing it slowly, and you expose yourself to light and it disturbs your sleep. Some of you might experience this where you wake up in the middle of the night. You might wake up just to go pee or disturbed by something, and you pick up your phone. If you pick up your phone, that brightness dilates your pupils of your eye. It's telling you, hey, it's daytime. It switches off the melatonin production. So it's a great way to hijack your sleep with that. Now, melatonin is not constantly released through your sleep, and melatonin doesn't keep you asleep. So it's not something that makes somebody drowsy or sleepy. Melatonin is designed to start to get you to feel sleepy. So it starts to create the falling asleep or going to sleep process, the first stage of sleep. And if it's interrupted, it hijacks and messes up your natural rhythm or process of going to sleep. So what you really want to understand is that if we don't allow that melatonin production and increase, we start to impact our sleep. Now, over the years, when we go through our teen years, it tends to peak up to our early 20s. And after our early 20s, it starts to naturally decline for most adults. And we tend to have very low and negligible amounts of melatonin in our body in our 70s and 80s, right? Now, you might notice that for those of you that are, in that age range, or you have parents or grandparents in that age range, that they're very light sleepers or very easily disturbed. One light goes on, one door gets banged, one sound outside, and they very quickly wake up. Now that should happen, and that can happen for the elderly, which is kind of in line with natural levels of melatonin or naturally low levels of melatonin. But if that's happening to you now, I invite you to consider that you in your prime age or peak age might have shortchanged your melatonin production. And so you're not allowing your body to naturally release melatonin. And as a result, you might find that currently itself you're a light sleeper. But that's not the end of the world, because there's a lot of stuff we can do to improve our sleep. I said earlier that melatonin starts around 6 p.m. when darkness arises. Closer to 10 p.m. is when we start to get peak melatonin production. Now think about this. For a good period of my life, and still many days, sometimes when I'm busy, I end up working till close to midnight. Very seldom now do I push past midnight. It was very common in my banking days to be up till 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. But now I tend to have my cutoff as midnight to 11:30, starting to get to bed, right? Still then, from 10 p.m. to 11:30 p.m., I am impacting my melatonin production. So if I know peak melatonin production is 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., and if I'm sleeping at midnight, or if any of you are doing that, you're shortchanging your melatonin production by half. So this thing is really contributing to tomorrow. And what you're doing is you're ruining tomorrow, because we're deferring the onset and the release of melatonin. It's so essential you guys understand this, because one of the things that leads to how we feel, our emotiveness, our impulsiveness, our mood, our productivity, our contentment in life can literally be linked to sleep and melatonin production. This is what happens when that sleep is compromised. I've shared already things like brain function and memory. That process doesn't happen. Kids especially, it impacts learning, but even adults, if you're trying to learn something new and you're not getting quality sleep, as adults we're on a program right now and we're learning something. That learning is impacted around how much we retain because of compromised sleep. If we have compromised sleep, we're likely to be a lot more emotionally volatile the next day. And when we're emotionally volatile the next day, we're likely to be impulsive or compulsive, which means you will buy something you didn't really need to buy, you'll be snappy, you'll give into a sensual desire or pleasure at very short notice. Directly correlated with lack of sleep. And I experienced this one firsthand for sure. I can find myself overeating, binge eating, or if I'm on the move and had compromised sleep the night before, I'm just buying stuff like drinks and snacks along the way that I really didn't need to, right? And sometimes, easily in the morning I could have, if I had a very poor sleep, I could easily have 3 or 4 rounds of caffeine. If I'm waking up early with less sleep, easily between 7 to 10 a.m., easily I'd have caffeine three times because of compromised sleep. It slows down your metabolism and it impacts your digestion. Now, why does it do that? Because if you have less sleep, guess what you're driving on? You're driving on stress hormones. You're driving on your adrenal gland is overworking, which is producing cortisol and adrenaline. If it's producing cortisol and adrenaline, it will switch off what we call the non-essential systems. And one of those is getting your digestion, right? So your digestion is considered non-urgent, non-essential. So it's like, hey, why do I need to prioritize that? So it reduces the supply of nutrients, blood, oxygen going to our digestive organs and process. It impacts also our reproductive organs. Again, considered non-essential, non-urgent. So it impacts your fertility. It increases compromised sleep over a number of years of time, chances and occurrences of depression, things like seizures, increased blood pressure. So blood pressure will increase with compromised sleep. Migraines, we're likely to have heightened migraines with less sleep, or with a compromised immunity, which we looked at earlier. It will easily lead to you catching illness or an infection. Leads to anxiety because we're compulsive, emotive, emotionally volatile, and longer term has been shown to have people who have reported, this was research based on people who in most of their working life from about 22, 23 up to 65 reported for most of their working life they were sleeping 6 hours or less, had a higher incidence of dementia, Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Those people also were more susceptible to strokes, heart attack or any ischemic heart disease, and of course weight gain, which is sometimes a function of the spike in cortisol, adrenaline, and the impulsive eating or habits that we indulge in. Of course, there's an impact on relationships. If we wake up groggy, snappy, we could be short with somebody, all coming down to compromised sleep. Again, the same group that was researched from ages 21, 22, 23 till about 65, their working career, that said that they slept 6 hours or less for most of their working life. Over time, it was seen that they lived about 15% or 15 years less than those that reported close to 8 hours of sleep for most of their working life. So 15% reduction in life expectancy would be attributed to compromised sleep. And then there's a view that our compromised sleep definitely impacts things like our skin elasticity, our natural collagen production, that will lead to early onset of things like wrinkles or certain other less healthy or less elastic skin, which again in this research was defined as being less attractive, right? So some of you might like the wrinkles, but this is anyway what the research says about compromised sleep. Talking about fertility, both women and males. For women, those getting less than 7 hours of sleep, they were 15% less likelier to get pregnant than women who got 7 to 8 hours. And even those under IVF, if they got 7 to 8 hours of sleep, they were 25% more likely to get pregnant if they had this amount of sleep. I say this right now as I'm speaking to somebody who has been going through this. They've had a miscarriage. They have now conceived, and I was with them last week in London, and this is about 6:30 in the evening. I caught up for a coffee, and she's like, "Oh, I've started this evening job because I want to give back to society." So she goes and helps this GP at this particular center, and it starts off at 7 p.m. her shift, and she goes on till about 10:30 or 11 p.m. She says sometimes midnight. Right? This is a GP who's on call, and she's like an assistant to the GP. And I remember saying to her that this is completely going to work against her healthy pregnancy. She's just in the second month, and as much as she loves to do this coming from and with a good intention, I was like, you need to be in bed before 10 p.m. Right? So it's one of the things we highly recommend. Guess what? For men and men's fertility or sperm health, for men that slept for less than 6 hours, they were 31% less likely to get someone pregnant than those that got between 7 to 8 hours, right? So again, contributes to male fertility health as well. Now let's talk about sleep. Sleep is not just about 7 to 8 hours. It's not just about the quantity. You have to understand that sleep is not single dimensional, it's multidimensional. And multidimensional is not just the quantity, but also the quality and the depth of the sleep. There are 4 stages of sleep. Sometimes you might hear people talk about 5 stages of sleep. But the first 3 stages are called NREM, non-rapid eye movement. So there's NREM stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. And then you might hear some people say NREM stage 4, or the 5th stage, which is REM sleep. REM is rapid eye movement. As the name suggests, in rapid eye movement, there's literally rapid eye movement. This is where the brain becomes a lot more active, body becomes relaxed, your dreams occur, we can see a lot more vividly. But the first few stages, stage 1 is just the first 5 to 10 or 15 minutes for some in you falling asleep and going to bed. Now, NREM stage 1 is not you in bed tossing and turning for an hour, hour and a half, trying to fall asleep. You've not yet entered NREM stage 1, right? That sleep could be impacted by stimulants close to bedtime, you being up because of some stress or other concern, temperature not being right. That will impact your sleep, and we'll talk about what's the right temperature for good sleep. NREM stage 2, your body temperature drops, your heart rate begins to slow down, and your brain begins to produce what are called sleep spindles. This lasts about 20 minutes. So about 35 minutes into your sleep, we'll then enter NREM stage 3. This is where your muscles relax. And this is for any of you that have got little toddler kids, or any kids kind of under 10, you find if we lift up the limb, they just drop. Maybe some of you are still kind of in that stage, you still get that. But kids very quickly get into NREM stage 3 very quickly. And that's kind of where the deepest sleep occurs, in NREM stage 3. And so this is when they're in deep sleep. If you ever see people do hypnosis on somebody, they basically get them into NREM stage 3 and their muscles are immobile, right? So you could literally lift it and it drops with gravity. So unless that's done to a level that disturbs their sleep and wakes them up, blood pressure and breathing rate drop, and you can kind of influence that sleeping body a lot more than they can, unless they get out of that stage through being interrupted or disturbed. Now this is what's called a sleep cycle. Like I said earlier, the first stage is about 5 to 10 minutes. The second stage is about 20 minutes. Stage 3 takes about another, you're in that stage for about 30 to 45 minutes. And then you go into stage 4 and you come back to REM sleep, rapid eye movement. Now each sleep cycle from stage 1 up to REM is about 90 minutes. That's the average sleep cycle. Why is it important to understand what a sleep cycle is? Now, not every night will you go to the deepest level of sleep, which is stage 3 or stage 4, and back to REM. Sometimes you'll be at REM and you'll go up to only stage 2 and back to REM, stage 2 and back to REM. So you're not getting as deep sleep. Sometimes you wake up and you're like, oh, I had no dreams. You probably did maybe in the earlier part of the night, but not closer to waking up. We tend to remember the dreams closer to the time of waking up, and we will normally go into stage 3 or 4 when we are very well prepared for sleep. And one of the things that contributes to good sleep is getting healthy fatigue. Now, and so it is important that we get to go into deep sleep. I do want to share, sometimes you feel you are woken up and disturbed and you wake up with a bit of a headache, or you feel really groggy or sleepy. And that often might be because you've been woken up somewhere around stage 3 or REM, where you're still mid-sleep and in the middle of the wrong part of the cycle you're woken up. So the best kind of time to wake up is around REM or stage 2, stage 1. It's easy for you to come out of sleep and you feel a bit more fresher than if your alarm rings in the middle of stage 3 or stage 4, when it's really interrupted, right? And that's when we wake up and we think, oh, this doesn't work for me, I hate it, I need to go back to sleep, why is that noise there? You hit the snooze button, and that's because you're in the middle of the sleep cycle. So always great to wake up in the early part of the sleep cycle. Now you can influence your sleep cycle if you are sleeping outdoors in nature and the natural light came up from a pitch black sky with no unnatural light around you. As the natural sun rises, that will naturally start to wake up your body, because your skin has what we call light receptors. But in today's world, we have street lights outside, we have corridor lights in our home, we have we have even the sort of sleep light that you have there for your kids that you might keep on the socket there. Even that impacts the quality of sleep of your kids. I highly recommend, if you have that for your kids, after they've knocked out, switch it off, right? Because your kids' skin have light receptors. How much sleep do humans need? Well, again, this varies from age to age. As a newborn, the first 3 months, you need more sleep than awake, up to 17 hours of sleep. So 2/3 of the day you need to be asleep. As an infant, 4 to 11 months, at least minimum non-negotiable half the day you're asleep, 12 to 15 hours. As a toddler, first couple of years, 11 to 14 hours. And yeah, Rishipala's got a kid, so you should be looking at this for sure, and anybody else who's in that phase right now. Preschool, 3 to 5 years, 10 to 13 hours. So still, our preschool kids, in my case, Kanea, should be getting about 12 hours sleep. School age, 6 to 13 hours, 9 to 11 hours of sleep. So Kanea's in this window. Kanea's just knocked out about 30 minutes ago, and he's going to wake up around about 6:15. He's going to get about 9 hours of sleep. He could do with a bit more. It would be better if they went to sleep an hour earlier. Generally, it's kind of when we start to wind them down. But if we could get about 10 to 11 hours for both the kids, that is really good sleep. And we see it. We see the effect and the impact of their happiness the next day, their mood the next day, less, tummy aches, etc. As a teenager, 14 to 17 hours, we should be getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep. Now, this is mostly where most of us mess up our sleep in our teen years, because we're also going through hormonal changes, we're discovering life, we're discovering ourselves, we're discovering our identity, we're forming new friends, and so we want to be out longer, we want to try new things, we're getting into various stimulants and intoxicants over that period, and we compromise sleep. And especially in my teen era and early 20s, without education on sleep, sleep was associated with laziness. The more you slept, the more you were a sleepyhead, the more you were lazy, the more you were a slacker, the more you were sluggish. And there was a macho-ness, a bravado to those people that could get away with less sleep, those that could sleep 4 hours or 5 hours and so on. As a young adult, 18 to 25 years, 7 to 9, right through most of our adult years. And as I said, old adults may get away with or may end up having less hours of sleep because of reduced levels of melatonin in them. Now, this is a theory that I'm presenting on screen. It's not 100% science, but it's a way to allow you to understand your type of sleeping. And if you understand your type of sleeping, sleep is so connected with productivity. So if you understand your sleep, what's called your sleep type, then you can understand how to design your day for peak productivity. Now, there's nothing right or wrong about these various types of sleepers. You might identify and see which type of sleeper you are. You might have a little bit of sleeper type envy, but that envy won't serve you. It doesn't make a difference. You just got to understand which one you are and how to design your routine accordingly. So there is what's called the dolphin. Now, dolphins, literally dolphins in the ocean, if you're aware about this, those of you that are aware, they never actually fully go to sleep. They're always half asleep. So literally half the brain switches off at night for half the night, for half of it to sleep. Then the other brain is on and alert to look out for predators. So dolphins are considered light sleepers. And then the second half of the night, the brain switches. They wake about 6:30 a.m. That's recommended for dolphins. They tend to be productive and highly energetic in the beginning of the day, so it's great for them to start off with a workout, have nutritional calories consumed after the workout, creative work around about midday, mid-morning up to midday, and then afternoons are good for doing the sort of difficult tasks where they sort of dig deep into their seat or have that kind of no disturb time and crack their work away. They tend to be early sleepers, and they will be interrupted with a lot of noise or tech exposure or light exposure in the evening. You then have lions. Lions is something I remember reading this thinking, damn, I want to be a lion. But I'm not a lion, and I know people that are proper lions. They wake up at 4:30, 5 a.m., 5:30, and very easy for them to wake up, get out of bed, make the morning coffee, go for the gym, even before sunrise. They work out, they can work out early in the morning, but they also would work out later in the evening. No tech before bedtime, and bedtime is around about, I would even say from 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. They only need about 7 hours of sleep, where they get away easily with 7 hours sleep and still maintain productivity. And there are some entrepreneurs, CEOs, and if you listen to people like Gary Vee, he is somebody who used to brag a lot. I think he's been given a lot of advice of late not to encourage that to people, because it's been told to him and many others that that's genetic for some and not for others, and he's somebody that thrives on or gets away with 5 hours of sleep. He doesn't push that so much, but he's somebody that really used to recommend getting away with less sleep. Bears need full 8 hours of sleep, and this is where I kind of identified. I realized if I don't get 8 hours of sleep, it really impacts my presence, my productivity, my mood, my strength, and my workout the next day, right? I start workouts, some of you will see, I start a workout and I'm yawning at the start of the workout, and that's because it was compromised sleep the night before. Bears, great to begin the morning with a walk or a workout. Naps or power naps are welcome, and they help you from as little as about 9 minutes up to 21 minutes. Power naps do work. For me, they do work. Helps boost productivity in the afternoon. And most difficult work, again, ideally in the morning. In my case, as a bear, I also find lunch makes me a bit more slackish and lethargic. It causes a carb crash, especially when I was having a lot of carbs at lunch. So I'm very mindful to ensure lunch is light and not carb heavy, and bedtime around 11 p.m. to allow for 8 hours sleep till 7 a.m. Wolves. I think when I was in my banking world, this is kind of what I was. Not particularly morning people, wake up 7:30, a lot of caffeine intake, eating breakfast when I wake, but then again I'd go to work and about 9:30, 10 I need another breakfast or some kind of snack at that time. Post breakfast, great for going for a workout, or I'd go for a lunch workout in my case. Most productive in the evenings. Dinner tended to be late for me, definitely my working days, not before 7 p.m., not before 7:30, often between 8 and 10 p.m. is when I would have that. I didn't do this, but this would help you to get good sleep. For many people, you want to look at this, having a hot shower before bedtime. And so while we do recommend cold showers, those are great for the morning, not necessarily so for the evening, unless in your very hot climate, you've had an evening workout, you're sweaty and you want to cool the body down, you can. And Wolves' bedtime was around midnight, in my case was 12:30, sometimes 1 a.m., but really had an impact. And it was like you're constantly going into overdraft with the energy, and then you're trying to use the weekend to recover from it. So this is somewhat a theory and a guideline to aid you once you understand your sleep type. It's a theory and concept by Dr. Brias, who was called the sleep doctor. So nothing right or wrong, but if you understand what you most identify with, then reorder your tasks in your day and your workout time in the day and your productivity period in the day to get the most out of your day and your sleep. Now, how do we really get the most out of our sleep? So I'm going to share some tips here. Now, this is really where you want to pay attention, and these should really be, not one point should be missed in terms of pragmatic implementation. If there's one thing here you're saying you're not doing right, or you're aware of it, but you've still not addressed it, consider this is impacting your sleep. And I have in my home what I call a control experiment, a control room. So firstly, have a sleep schedule. This is one of the first things for people that want to work on the sleep. Start to have a fixed sleep time. Now, if today you're on a webinar at 6:30 where you are, 7:15 where you are, and your sleep time is getting to bed by 8 p.m., 8:30, 9 p.m., really aim for that 9 p.m. bedtime. Aim for being in bed by 9 p.m. First few nights, it might be hard for you because you're used to having stayed up. But if you really start to make yourself wake up early the following morning, you'll find that you'll naturally get fatigued later in the day, especially if the following morning you do exercise much earlier in the day, fatigue your body naturally. Reduce caffeine intake after noon, after midday, right? So reducing the caffeine intake after midday, again, it varies from person to person and their sensitivity. Like in my case, I could still have caffeine up to 6, 7 p.m. and it doesn't really impact my sleep. Or maybe if I did try to remove it, then I might experience a difference. But in my case, of course, and with the 2-hour time difference today with the UK, we're working, like we're running webinars. So I don't want to be delivering the sleep webinar to you guys while I'm sleepy. So I do want to be a little bit alert as I deliver it. But it's one of the costs or impact that I'm taking as a sacrifice so that we could deliver this program to people. Tech curfew. So create a tech curfew by time and by zone. So minimize your exposure to tech. You can get blue light blockers. You can wear the glasses that are blue light blockers. You can order them online. They don't cost much. Get them to minimize. So at a certain point in the evening, start to put these on. I've seen people religiously use these, and I've seen them, these are specifically entrepreneurs who I've seen speaking on stage and performing for 12-hour sessions of training all day, very energetic, and they're taking nowhere near the amount of caffeine I was taking, right? But they really prioritized their sleep routine, their hydration, and they seriously managed the tech curfew. No tech zones. By no tech zones, again, this is a recommendation from multiple people, but one thing I got specifically from Jay Shetty, he was no tech in the bedroom, no tech in the toilet. The bedroom I could understand, the toilet was a struggle for me, but it allows us to be obviously a lot more focused on what we're going to the toilet for and not be on our phones. And no tech in the bedroom minimizes that exposure of tech disturbance. it so happened that when I was learning this, at that point in time, we lived in a particular home where it was rented, and the location of the bed and the headboard didn't have sockets on the side. So by default, we would keep our phones just outside the room where there was a socket for it to charge. And I do remember that being one of the places we used to get really good sleep. I also found myself most productive the following days and having great morning routine, especially the morning after. No tech times recommended. Not exposing yourself as you wake up first thing to your phone, at least for the first hour, right? And up to an hour and a half. Now, the caveat or the exception you might want to bear in mind, if you can manage this responsibly, is if you're using your phone, say, for playing music while you're doing morning meditation, or some morning mantra that you're playing in your home, or maybe you're putting a lullaby or something to go to sleep, or a mantra to go to sleep. If you are using that, if you are using tech, if you are using, say, something like YouTube, bear in mind you can also set up a particular auto sleep function on there, so it turns off after a certain time. But if you can do it without exposure, then that's better. Sleep sanctuary. You want to build a sleep sanctuary. This is, you might hear the word called sleep hygiene or sleep sanctuary. Sleep hygiene is about creating the space that really truly serves you. Blackout curtains. This is a phenomenal game changer, guys. Blackout curtains. When we moved back to Africa, we thought beautiful weather. We love the outdoors. We love the sun. So what we did is we've been in this home for 5 years. For 4 years, right up till I think early this year or end of last year, we just had netted curtains, right? And we loved the morning light coming in, not realizing how at night, because of the solar street lights outside and cars driving in the middle of the night into the yard, it would really be disturbing our sleep. And it impacted our happiness, our mood, our grogginess the next morning. And so we've since put blackout curtains, and a significant shift in the quality of our sleep. Make your room noise proof. So if you need double glazing. If you need your door closed, have your door closed. No TV, no laptop, definitely no TV in rooms. I mean, I don't know how many of you still have that, but I know in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, everybody loved the TV in the room. You know, maybe it's a thing still in certain countries, but I strongly recommend against having that. Trying to use tech or TV to fall asleep. I know people used to do that. It's a very, very, very unhealthy habit. I'd recommend strongly against it. Don't be on your laptop as you're falling asleep. Try to keep your tech away from the bedroom as a no tech zone. I spoke earlier about how we would naturally wake up with natural light. You can swap an alarm clock by buying what's called an SAD lamp. SAD is a lamp that helps people that deal with SAD. SAD stands for Seasonal Affectionate Disorder. Many people don't know they have this. And you might want to ask yourself, when winter comes, and if you're in the northern hemisphere, you have longer hours of darkness, do you find an increase in incidences of depression or sadness? So if you tend to get sad or depressed in winter months where there are longer dark hours, you likely might be dealing with what's called SAD, Seasonal Affectionate Disorder, which, even as the name suggests, the letter suggests, makes us slightly sad or depressed, and it is completely seasonal. Now, something that can really help you, definitely sun, and some of you will experience that. You go to certain regions of the world. You go to Dubai, you go to California, you come to Africa, you join us on Kilimanjaro, and that exposure to the sun, suddenly you realize your mood is boosted. I've significantly felt that shift, having moved out over here, and I didn't get an SAD lamp. But if you're in the northern hemisphere, for whatever reasons, you know, your career or other choices, or that's just where family and home is, it is what it is. We can improve our mood by having an SAD lamp in our room. So you set the time where it's close to natural sunlight. Of course, with the seasons, the sunrise time changes, but you can fix it for 6:15, 6:30, and it will naturally light up the room at your wake up time before the alarm rings. So your skin, your light receptors on your skin start to slowly come out of that deep state of sleep, and you're easier to wake up without the sleep being interrupted. Room temperature. I've probably tried this once or twice, I tell you, but I find it really cold. but to have your room at 16 to 18 degrees Celsius is the best temperature for sleep. Now, I say this when I go to hotels and they've got AC in the room. The kind of coldest I can let that room be is about 19 degrees, maybe sometimes 18. So don't mix this up with your body temperature, and don't mix this up with the outdoor temperature. We're talking about the temperature in the room. If you can adjust the temperature in the room to be 16 to 18 degrees, right? Some of us might be in cold parts of the world where tonight it's 7 degrees, 8 degrees, 9 degrees at night, but your room has accumulated heat, or you have the heater on. And so the room temperature might be closer to 19, 20, right? But if it's about 16 to 18, even if the room temperature is that your body will be warmer because you could have a thick duvet, you will get better quality sleep. And for the Americans, that's 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit. What can help you sleep better in terms of supplementing? I.e., what nutritionally or what nourishment can we add to our body that will aid us not only not fall asleep. So don't mistake this as any of those things. They don't make you sleepy. But when you're asleep, the natural processes that happen in our sleep are a lot more effective in the presence of ZMA, right? So ZMA does not make anybody sleepy. So if anyone tells me I took ZMA, I was feeling really groggy and sleepy, it's not true. There's nothing in there. Zinc doesn't do that, magnesium doesn't do that, and vitamin B6, which actually gives you energy, doesn't do that, right? So ZMA doesn't make you sleepy, but when you're sleeping, ZMA, even if you took ZMA earlier in the day, so long you have those minerals present in your body within 24 hours, they will do the repair work of boosting your immunity, repairing your muscles, relaxing your muscles in your sleep. GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid, is a brain neuroreceptor. Now you can get GABA, which is, you can get it synthetically produced. So you can get GABA as pills. In some countries, they won't sell it, like in the UK. I don't know if they've started to sell it now in the UK. But the UK allows you to order it from eBay, from the US, and in the US they sell everything. So you can get it there. In India, again, they easily sell these. You get GABA. So GABA, you can get it. If you're struggling with sleep, start by trying out GABA. See if it gives you deeper sleep. If you experience more vivid dreams, or you experience that, wow, I was completely, knocked out, I don't remember waking up interrupted in the middle of the night, GABA will help you. 5-HTP. 5-HTP is something that will, can also contribute slightly to GABA production, but 5-HTP comes from, Griffonia seed extract. So that helps you, again, slightly with neurotransmission. So as I said, when we sleep, memory is enhanced. So if you have the chemicals needed to enhance memory or form the strong experience to interpretation, the presence of neurotransmitters consolidates the experiences of the day, strengthens our memory, and we're likely to be a lot more smarter the next day. We learn from our daily experiences with these supplements. So these actually contribute to brain health in our sleep. Ashwagandha is an adaptogenic. You can have ashwagandha any time of the day. But I'm having actually a drink which contributes to focus and energy. It's got certain mushrooms in there like lion's mane, and ashwagandha. Ashwagandha helps with recovery of muscles. It helps with inflammation in muscles. It helps with production of testosterone. So ashwagandha is something that you can have, and I would say only on prescription. However, I find melatonin becoming so readily available now everywhere in the world. It was something you really couldn't get your hands on, but like right now in India, in Africa, it's very easy to get your hands on. I don't know how it is in the UK. I forgot to check on this trip, but I'd love to know if any of you think you can find it. No, you can't. So in the UK, it's still prescription. In the US, you can get it anywhere. Like in the US, it's so easily to get your hands on melatonin. And some people take 2 milligrams of melatonin, 3 milligrams, 5 milligrams, and I've seen 10 milligram doses of melatonin. So some people are, I want to say, misusing melatonin. I know people who go on a plane, they're like, I'm on a flight, I just need to knock out. They take melatonin like a sleeping pill. Really not a good practice. Why? Because remember, certain hormones, when we get the synthetic supply, the gland that produces it switches off the natural production. So you might get good sleep that night on the aeroplane, but what you're doing is you're hijacking your natural production the following couple of nights thereafter. I do, and I have taken supplements that do contain melatonin when I have had a long journey, I'm fatigued, I am very tired, I've had an intense workout, I am concerned that I have few hours of sleep, but I want to get quality sleep. So this has happened in instances like, I'm traveling somewhere where I have to wake up the following morning very early for a race, an event, or whatever it might be, and I've been up late. Melatonin won't keep me sleeping for longer, but it'll help me get to sleep quicker. So sometimes I might take something that has melatonin, but I don't recommend making that a habit. Now, the morning after, remember, sleep is your access to boosting productivity. So how do you boost productivity? If we do all this the day before, the morning after, what can help us? So caffeine for some, again, some people are very productive and don't need caffeine, don't like caffeine. That's fine. Mushroom coffee, by mushroom coffee, there are a number, about 3 or 4 mushrooms that contribute to, as a nootropic role. They bring focus, they bring alertness. One of them is lion's mane, and there are a few other mushrooms that you could get. You get mushroom coffee now, so this trip in the UK I found that, but there's one called 4 Sigma, which has been around for a while and quite popularized by a number of online influencers. Those help slightly with productivity. There are some people that say nicotine, although I've not tried that, but that's nicotine only as nicotine as a supplement, or some other form of taking it in, maybe as a patch. But I've not tried it. I'm not going to recommend it, but it does contribute a little bit to focus and alertness. Taurine is an amino acid, right? It is there in certain small quantities in certain proteins, but in very small quantities. Now, it helps with our mental alertness if we have about 1,000 or 1,500 milligrams of taurine a day. Taurine is also what's added to certain energy drinks because it gives you that focus. And a lot of people think taurine is the bad thing in Red Bull. No, the thing that's bad about Red Bull is the amount of sugar that they load in, unless you take the sugar-free version. And the sugar-free version will have caffeine, between 80 to 120 or 200 milligrams of caffeine, depending on what energy drink you're taking. And it will also have taurine. So you can buy taurine on its own as a supplement, but it also helps with your mental alertness, especially as we age, 60s and upwards. Taurine helps defer certain cognitive brain issues like Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, or let's put it this way, people that have Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's have been seen to have a deficiency in taurine. So it's good to have taurine to prevent the early onset of those. L-theanine. L-theanine comes from green tea. It's a green tea extract. It helps you be a little bit more calm when you're alert and focused on something. So L-theanine sometimes comes nowadays in pre-workouts to manage things like the jitters or not make you too hyper. So it brings the calm while it also brings the attention and the focus. And then pre-workout. Now pre-workouts, there are various ones. When we come on Friday surgeries, I do share them. Pre-workouts is a little bit of a broad term here, but generally they will have caffeine, they will have taurine, they might have L-arginine, they might have creatine. So depending on which pre-workout you're working on, sometimes you can use a pre-workout, not take the full pre-workout dose, but you could take half or a third of that dose just for you to be productive. So it works like a nootropic, right? So it just gives you that alertness. If you're not going for a physical workout, it will still bring that mental presence. I want to share one real life example here. You may or may not know this guy, but this is Alex
Hormone. I sleep until I wake up. Number 2, I put in earplugs. Number 3, I put in headphones to really make sure I can't hear anything. Number 4, I put in nicotine. Number 5, I caffeinate. Number 6, I shut out all of the windows so that it's pitch black in the room besides my screen, and I turn off all outside notifications on my phone. Once I've done that, I've made it as easy as possible to work as hard as I can. This is my actual productivity routine that's cheaper than Starbucks. Number
Cool. So I just wanted to share that. Some of you guys might know him, Alex Hormone, great coach in the space, very successfully, grown a gym chain business and another company that he runs, acquisition.com, and recently they had a very successful fundraising round for a particular fund or project that they're starting. Anyway, that's one of his things. I just wanted to share. It was interesting. I saw that on social media and I was like, hey, that's what we talk about in our program. As you can see, he uses nicotine, something I've not tried, but it is does contribute a little bit to our alertness. So that said, we're going to wrap up today's session on sleep. But before we do, Head Coach Pri, something you want to share or announce?
Yes, thank you, Ronnie. Hi, everyone. Listen in. We have some exciting news today. We are starting our step challenge, and I'm not running it for 1 week, but I'm running it for 2 weeks. Okay. So, what we're going to do is from the 16th of November, ready, everybody? 16th of November until the 30th of November, we're going to be running a step challenge. And what does this include? It's the most amount of steps as a team, as an individual, and coaches are going to play too. And coaches also are going to have a competition between themselves. So we're going to have that separate. And then the tracker has to be completed by 30th November. It's a Sunday. Double checking this. Yep, it's a Sunday. So by 30th November, make sure that the tracker is completed. If it is not on the tracker by 30th November at midnight in your respective zones, then it will not be counted. So make sure you're doing your trackers. I keep saying this every single week. Important that you do your trackers for your team, for yourself, to keep accountability. And I'm so excited about this challenge. So really excited for every one of you to push yourselves a little bit extra, get motivated. It's friendly competition, but it's always you versus you. But we're going to push and we're going to push and we're going to push. And this is what growth is. This is what teamwork is. Make sure you don't let your teams down, but this is just fun and games as well. So just bringing the fun and light here, shaking things up. So really excited about this. Very, very excited.
Awesome. I just want to check anybody that's new, that's not familiar with how the step challenge works. Any questions on this? So this is webinar 8. We're going to talk about it on webinar 10. We're going to announce the winners. And of course, if you don't provide your data, it's self-reporting. Obviously, we're expecting people to be honest. We won't be asking for screenshots for everything. But you will have your stats sheet where you log your steps. And this is where the coaches will be looking at to see what you've done. Ideally, updated daily, minimum weekly, and over the 2-week period by 30th November on that Sunday or first thing Monday morning as you wake up, make sure you've updated what the night before was, because on the Mondays when there'll be one last check to gather all the data before the Wednesday webinar. Komal, was there a question?
No, you just answered it. I was just curious how it works, but it's all good.
Okay,
Got it.
cool. Yeah, so it's basically each of your steps. You know, if anyone attaches their Apple Watch to their dog and sends the dog for a run, we'll know. So don't do that. And you know, it's awesome seeing the amount of ranges of steps, but it's also so awesome seeing the effect of team dynamic on frequency, right? Like we have seen people, and people have seen themselves go to a level sort of they've not been to before. I do want to say we've got Mukesh Parma here. Mukesh Parma has been a step king a number of times. He's always
Not this time.
not this time.
I'm trying to reduce my weight, not reduce my weight.
I know there are a number of people we question whether they're sleepwalking, and then there's Sarah. We don't have Sarah on this challenge, do we? Is she in the Thriving Five?
Sarah Carter. She's Sarah Carter?
Yeah.
She's on this challenge. Yep. She's in Coach Drew's team.
Awesome. She is, you know, she's also a fiddler performer on ships, and I don't know whether it comes with the dancing or the post performance, but she also has been nailing her steps, whether it's moving during the performances or while on a ship. But definitely, she's also somebody who's been nailing her steps, and we've had some amazing records. So they're going to be winners will be announced as individual males, individual females. There will be team winners. There will also be coaches participating. There will be, you know, we'll find out who the top coaches are. And then sometimes there might be some outstanding record, like, you know, somebody who's done a crazy amount of steps, as well as a crazy amount of steps for the day. All right, cool. All right, that's Coach Page. Awesome. You'll have to read this out because none of your team are on the call right now. Coach Page is saying, as you guys are listening in on the recording, his team won the last step challenge, #no pressure. So you all have to perform if you're in Beige's team. All right, cool. On that note, guys, oh, sorry, the winners, yeah, will be individual, team, and whoever missed the most amount of steps. On that note, it is a wrap. This is the assignments. I want you guys to take on sleep optimizing activities. So create a bedtime routine, ensure you continue to track your sleep, which is also there on the tracker. So please start to now record your sleep hours. Begin to implement optimize your sleep. Share your journey from now until the end of the challenge. You know, guys, we also lose a lot of fat in our sleep. So those of you that have a fat loss goal, this thing really helps you, right? Get off tech at least 1 to 2 hours before sleep. Apply tech filters, buy your blue light blockers if you can. And then there's a bonus listening and another one on why do you sleep. I'll share these both with you. Share your journey as you prep for day 75, which is next week, right, Pri? Yeah.
November 21st. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
And then, yeah, what's your next part of your journey? We have opened the January program. Just so you know, we've opened it specifically for this program. I don't know if you guys heard earlier, we were saying, and we are working on moving our platform to a different type of format, which will be subscription based. But till that's not live, we want to make sure there's an opportunity for people to get on the 90-day program, and during that, post that, there'll be an option for you to move on to the subs model as and when. So please do. You can go ahead and sign up. We still have a promo running right now. So, and January is always the busiest. It has the highest number of Ancoras. So obviously once we go live with the January program, we are sending this out to a full mailing list, and a lot of people sign up now for January. It's the record number of participants of every challenge every year. So the Encore spaces are only 20 of them. So those are going to go with people on or off this challenge. So if you do want to take advantage of it, then you do want to go and sign up on fitbanker.com/go. And yeah, on that note, it is a wrap. Anything else, Pri? Anything else I've missed?
No.
So I just want to share. Yeah, no. Next week is a non-webinar week, right? But there might be some fun and games we're going to have, right, Pri?
Yes, my team of coaches and I are in the process of planning a fun event.
Don't tell them. Don't tell them.
Yeah, I'm
Just
not
keep.
gonna tell them. So
Just
just
keep.
hold. Yeah, it's gonna be a surprise. It's gonna be an exciting surprise. So just
It will
very
definitely
excited.
help you with the step challenge.
Yes, that's the hint.
It will help you with the step challenge. So keep this time free to take part in a fun game that Pri and Co are going to create. It's still in the creation stages, but I got a little peep of what it might include or entail, and it will be fun and games. So I'll leave it there. We'll end with this quote. Our optimal health is a lifestyle. Keeping your body healthy is an expression of gratitude to the whole cosmos, the trees, the clouds, everything. Thich Nhat Hanh. I love this guy. He's passed in the recent few years, but beautiful quote. All right, guys, on that note, it is a wrap. Thanks all for being on, and we will see you on Friday surgery. Bye for now.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.